You know, as much as I hate double negatives, fast wagons will never not be cool.
You know, you could have just said that they'll always be cool. Kind of like the Porsche 911, which has been cool for the past 60 years and my dream car for as long as I can remember. And this happens to be the Turbo S version, which sits at the very top of the 911 lineup. And it basically takes everything that makes Porsche amazing engineering-wise and puts it in a package that is surprisingly easy to live with.
You know what else is surprisingly easy to live with? This wagon, and on top of that, it costs about half as much as this 911, and it's just about as cool in its own unique way. For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. All right, just to be clear, because I think I can see some confused faces out there, this isn't any sort of serious comparison. It's more of a fun video of what either of us would probably do if we won the lottery and had a bunch of money to spend on some cool cars. And as much as I admire the 911 for all it's accomplished over the years, this M5 wagon is cool specifically because it is a wagon. It's just counter to what you would expect. And yes, I know fast wagons have existed for a long time, and I know that in places like Europe there are a lot more of them because people over there really do appreciate the merits that these have versus sedans or even crossovers. But when I take a look at what's out there, I just think they are so awesome because when you look at a wagon, you think sensibility. So when you add a bunch of performance to the mix, it's just so silly that it makes it cool. And this is a very cool car, in my opinion. I know lots of people out there think it's cool. And here is my hot take. Well, actually, I have two of them, but we'll get to one first. I do think the 911 is cool, and yeah, you don't see that many of them, but because it's been around for so long and it's looked mostly the same over the years, they're sort of a dime a dozen when it comes to sports cars, supercars, performance cars. We've all seen a million 911s in our lifetimes, but when it comes to the M5 wagon, especially in North America, this is the first time we have ever had this car, and that rarity makes it even cooler. All right, and now it's time for hot take number two. The M5 sedan does absolutely nothing for me when I see it across a parking lot, but this thing really stirs my soul. I know that's one of those nerdy gearhead things, but again, when you see a fast wagon, you can tell what it is right away, and it's just so much cooler. And honestly, I don't see why anyone would buy the M5 sedan instead of this touring version. Yeah, it's about $5,000 more, but something tells me if you've got the budget to spend on a car like this, that is not going to break the bank either way. And this to me is well worth the extra cash, not just for the coolness, but for the added practicality that comes with it, because it means you can be on a winding road like this one, and you can have a whole bunch of luggage or your friends or family with you in the car. And that to me is just perfection. And so now let's talk about the silly side of it. And that's the fact that this thing makes more than 700 horsepower and it is an absolute rocket ship. It uses a plug-in hybrid powertrain, yes, unlike the Audi RS6 that just uses a twin turbocharged V8. This has a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 under the hood, but it's also got an electric motor sandwiched between the engine and the transmission, as well as a battery pack under the floor. So yes, it does have some emissions-free range. It's supposed to go 40 kilometers on a full charge, although all week long I have consistently been seeing 50 or 51 kilometers with the battery fully charged. But this thing is not about some altruistic greener future that exists purely for performance, because the engine on its own it is still impressive. It makes something like, I don't know, 537 horsepower or something in that neighborhood. Some of you BMW nerds out there can tell me exactly what it is because I don't remember offhand, so let me know in the comments. But it does make a lot of output, 575 pound-feet of torque or so on its own. But then when you add the electric side of this powertrain, it pushes those numbers to like 717 horsepower and 738 pound-feet of torque, which is absolutely nutty. It's also more than that 911 Turbo S makes. An important note, especially if you're doing a pseudo head-to-head like this one. Now, yes, that car is quicker, but this is still really impressive. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.6 seconds. Don't forget, it's a bigger and heavier vehicle, but that is a moment for pause because all the naysayers, they are wrong. There is no issue with the M5's weight. Yes, I know it is heavy. This thing weighs something like 5,500 pounds. Yeah, that's a lot. It's also only about 500 pounds heavier than that RS6. Okay, that's the equivalent of having 2 linebackers in the back seat, but then this has all that extra performance and extra output. And I'm telling you, there is no issue with the weight when you get your foot down. You can't feel it from this driver's seat, even with this steering wheel in your hand. This does not feel like some big, heavy, I don't know, unwieldy car. It's just an M car. This is still enjoyable. No, I'm not going to pretend it's as precise as the 911, but it's a lot more nimble than you might think. And a big reason why, yes, it's got rear axle steering. It's also got a locking rear differential with torque vectoring. But this air suspension really helps with that agility as well. Now, don't get me wrong, the ride quality, well, it's got the forgiveness of raw denim, but it's still nice because it keeps this car really flat when you're cornering. There is virtually no body roll whatsoever, so you don't have to worry about all of that weight shifting from one side to the next when you are cornering. It just stays nice and sharp. Again, not as precise as a 911, but not bad considering the size of this thing by comparison.
And Dan's right, if it's precision you're after, you can't do much better than a Porsche 911 Turbo S because precision is one of the 911's hallmarks. Another one of its calling cards is that it is truly one of the most subtle supercars you can buy. And sure, you know, you can get something like a Lamborghini, looks like a spaceship with lines all over the place, looks like a wedge. For me personally, I prefer the much more timeless style and silhouette of the 911 because it's going to continue to look sick for generations to come. And like Dan's M5, this 911 Turbo S is also electrified, although you cannot plug it in. But this uses Porsche's new T-hybrid system to augment acceleration. So it combines 2 electric turbochargers with 1 electric motor and a high voltage compact battery. Of course, being a 911, there's a 3.6 liter 6-cylinder engine back there, and total system output is a monstrous 701 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. And yes, I know that Dan's M5 puts out a bit more than that, but this thing rips. This thing gets from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 2.5 seconds. And that's with the Sport Chrono package. And that is just brutally quick acceleration. And I swear to God, it just feels incredible. And just to put that into perspective, this 911 Turbo S is 14 seconds faster around the Nürburgring than the one that came before this. And to get those kinds of gains in one generation of vehicle is bonkers. And it just really shows you how seriously Porsche engineers and designers take their jobs. And it's not just the brutal acceleration that's what gives me all the thrills in this 911. You know, it's the perfect steering. There's so much feeling. It's very communicative. It is so precise and so sharp. It is the brakes. The stopping power is incredible. And the action of the brake pedal is so intuitive. It's how it all comes together. The handling is brilliant. And it is an engineering symphony, all while maintaining that sense of excitement you get from driving fast. You know, driving this 911 Turbo S, you don't get the feeling that it's going to kill you despite its immense capability. It can make any driver, regardless of skill level, feel incredible, and it allows you to really communicate with the car for that really special experience that is so hard to replicate these days. And when it comes to driving dynamics balanced with practicality, Porsche is simply unmatched. The way all those elements comes together is really just proof of why the 911 has become such a dream car for so many people. It just signifies automotive excellence in a way that is pretty much unmatched by everything else out there, you know? This new electrified hybrid setup pulls so hard all the way up to red line, and then once you hit that red line, it is like an out-of-body experience. Like, I'm not religious, but I swear that I could see God. It is just so truly magical. And you know, the 911 being my dream car since I was a kid makes me like very nostalgic and emotional. I just love this car so much, and after driving this Turbo S, it is very obvious to me that it deserves its status as dream car. And even though that insane level of performance is amazing, this Turbo S is still really comfortable to drive, and it's really surprisingly mellow. And I think it's totally reasonable that someone could daily drive this, you know? The adaptive suspension means that, you know, broken roads are not gonna break your back. It's reasonably comfortable enough to drive day to day, you know, doing your groceries or going to work or whatever. It's got all the creature comforts. It is practical. No, it's not as practical as Dan's wagon, but this frunk is pretty sizable. You know, you can put all the extra stuff in the back. You can drive this thing year round. It is truly a four-season sports car. And I think this is one of the only vehicles out there that can combine such brutal, precise, world-class sporty driving dynamics with easy day-to-day drivability and usability. And it doesn't compromise on either of those. Usually you can have one but not the other. This Porsche 911 Turbo does both, and it executes both so flawlessly. It is truly inspiring.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend the M5 Touring is perfect. I'm not crazy about that front end, and the interface is a frustrating combination of complicated menus, touch sensors, and physical controls. But as a driver's car, it is pretty excellent. And the fact that it has the proportions of a proper wagon makes it that much better.
I, on the other hand, think that the 911 is perfect, and it's been setting the benchmark for performance cars for the past 6 decades, and it keeps raising the already high bar it sets for itself. So it has really earned its reputation as an icon and a dream car for generations of people. Hey Dan, do you think we should get a lottery ticket?
You think BMW would notice if I just didn't bring this one back?
Maybe I should respond to that email from that Nigerian prince?
You know what? He copied me. I'll get it.